It's your man 100 Grand Ross with The Rock Never Stops. We're going to try this again because my mic kept going out on the last one. People was jumping in, jumping out. Nobody let your boy know. Come on now. If we family, you supposed to let me know and be like, hey, mic's out. Can't hear you. Say something. All good. Anyways, this video, this live, it's going to be specifically about what's in the description box. Can Dylan Harper go number one? A case for him going number one. Now, I know a lot of people are convinced and entrenched in the Cooper Flag camp. And you know what? I ain't mad at it. I get it. High floor, high ceiling. Why not? Dylan Harper, high floor, high ceiling. And to an extent, people like the age thing. He's only 19, 18 years old. He's young, full of potential. And let's be clear, NBA has been looking for an American white guy face for the NBA for a long time, right? And so there's a lot of media machine behind him. I get it. I get it. But let's be clear. That is no slight to Dylan Harper. Cooper Flag's talent is no slight to Dylan Harper. And I think that it's something to evaluate when we're looking at talent. We don't necessarily need to diminish one in order to acknowledge another. I don't need to put down Cooper Flag's game in order to amplify or acknowledge Dylan Harper's game. I think a lot of Cooper Flag's floor has to do with his effort, his energy, his ability to contribute across the board, almost in like an Asar Thompson type of way. But I don't think he's that level of defender in terms of moving his feet, especially against elite guards. He doesn't have that level of quickness. Um, but his length, his athleticism, his size, his dedication, his motor, his physicality, all these things translate, meaning that he should be able to make an impact pretty much right away. And I think that that's something that intrigues a lot of NBA teams. Now, I said before, Montes Buzelis is who we think Cooper Flag is on offense. That's not a slight. All this to say is that Montes Buzelis was playing point guard for a long time throughout high school, legitimate point guard. Comes from a family of basketball players, international players who played at a high level. So he thinks the game operates, moves the game at a high level. And then when you look at someone like Cooper Flag was playing the big. He was playing on the interior, athletic. He was able to advance the ball at times, but he's developed a different game. All that's to say is offensively, I think that's where we begin to see a bit of a trade off between him and Dylan Harper. I can almost go the opposite side. Dylan Harper, at times on defense, he can be really solid, really good. Um, but he's not an elite defender. You wouldn't look at him as a VJ Edgecombe. You wouldn't look at him as somebody who you would anticipate being a lockdown defender. But a lot of that also is contributed to his role on most teams. He has been the lead guard, point guard, dominant playmaking, facilitating, shot creating, shot making force on his teams for a long time. Not only that, he comes from a deep basketball pedigree. His father, Ron Harper, played for the Chicago Bulls and the LA Clippers. He was an all star, averaged over 20 points a game. He was a bad boy, had an injury, ended up with the Chicago Bulls, and three-time champion with Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Luke Longley, Rodman, and the rest is history. His sons, Ron Harper Jr., I believe Ron Harper Jr. played for Rutgers as well. I could be wrong about that, but I think he did. He ends up going to the NBA. He's currently on the Detroit Pistons roster. Now you have Dylan Harper. Now they often say that the youngest son generally tends to be the best. The younger of your kids tends to be the more competitive, constantly pushing themselves to push past their elders. And so Dylan Harper has developed his game in a tremendous way that, if I'm honest with you, I would say has allowed him to refine his craft. If I'm honest with you, he reminds me of a 6'5" Jalen Brunson. He uses his body extremely well, has tremendous footwork on the offensive end. He's a dynamic playmaker, play finisher, shot creator, and maker, hitting game winning shots throughout his time at Rutgers. And he's had a storied basketball history in his early career. Now, this is where we begin to evaluate these different talents. Their floors. Their floors. Cooper Flag's floor is a dynamic defensive wing who can get out in transition, score on putbacks, and just having a high motor, constantly being around the basket, cutting off the ball. Someone of an Aaron Gordon without necessarily the facilitating abilities. He can have a great career. I think his floor is a fringe all star, is the guy who maybe makes it once, but doesn't make it a lot of times. But he's a starter for the next 10 to 15 years. Now, that's a really good prospect when it comes to drafting, especially at the top of the draft. If you get somebody, the number one, two, three, and they are a 10 to 15-year starter legitimately, you did a hell of a job drafting them. Great job. Not every number one pick or top three pick is going to be evaluated by becoming a greatest of all time. I know that that's how many times it's characterized, but that's not the reality. That's not. And so when you begin to designate the differences between Cooper Flag and Dylan Harper, there's an evaluation that must take place. Dylan Harper's floor, I would say, is something around a Jamal Murray. That's his floor. Jamal Murray. He can become a dynamic playmaking, shot creating guard. Never really has the full season. Never really is in that incredible shape to turn in an incredible year where he's a multiple time All Star, All NBA type of a talent. But he's the type of player that when the chips get down, you know his hand is still steady. When the lights get bright, when things get intense, Dylan Harper is going to be a guy who can get you a bucket. He's going to be a guy who's not scared of the moment. He's going to be a guy who's able to perform at the highest level. Once again, a long term, probably 10 plus year starting point guard. So that's their floors. Their floors between Dylan Harper and Cooper Flag is a 10 to 15-year starter at their respective positions. I think Cooper Flag is kind of a 4-3 hybrid where he kind of starts on the interior but can play a little bit on the perimeter. And I think he'll develop that game, but I think at his core, he's a big man. Dylan Harper, I think at his core, he is a point guard. He is a lead guard. He's never done anything else. There's no shooting guard. He can play off the ball, catch and shoot, much like a Jamal Murray, but he's been a point guard his whole life. And so I think that that at his foundation is what he is. A guy who can get you into your offense, facilitate, he can handle ball pressure, he can get it across half court and get you into your offense, do some shot creation, and he'll be pretty steady at doing that. I think also at his size, similar to Cooper Flag, they have really good positional size on in their respective positions. As a 4-3, being 6'8", close to 6'9", with a 7-foot wingspan, that's more than enough to get you by in today's power forward generation. Now the 90s, that's something else, right? 90s and early 2000s where you got 6'10", 265-pound Chris Webber, or you got 6'11", 240-pound, 35-pound Kevin Garnett, Tim Duncan next to Robinson, right? Those guys, being 6'8" wouldn't cut it. But in today's NBA, 6'8" cuts it, especially if you have a good wingspan. And so I think that Cooper Flag is going to have pretty good positional size. Now, this is where we start getting into the weeds of it all. What's their ceiling? What's their ceiling? This is something that we contemplate about often. And this is conjecture. We are projecting. We're looking at people who have played similar roles, similar styles, and we say, okay, can they potentially be like this guy? Right. And when we look at a Cooper Flag, some people see Kawhi Leonard. Some people see Andre Kirilenko. That was a comparison I had for him coming out of high school. He's since fixed his jump shot, shown a lot more skill. I don't necessarily go with that anymore. But some people see Kawhi Leonard. And I think that that's a bit of a stretch because Kawhi Leonard is just rare as hell. He is rare. He is something clicked for him in that situation, being able to develop. he has been able to do something that I don't think anybody anticipated him doing. There is anticipation and expectation with Cooper Flag. They expect him to come in and be able to be an impact player immediately. They expect him to be able to come in and to impact a franchise immediately. And that means getting them into the playoffs. Now, fortunately, if he's drafted by either Dallas or San Antonio, he is not going to carry that franchise from day one. You got Wemby, De'Aaron Fox in San Antonio. You've got Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving in Dallas. So, to an extent, either player is going to be asked to merely play a role. Now, here's a major difference. What happens if there's a trade? What happens if Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks look to make a move? Now, here's the thing, and I was thinking about this. Could Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks want the number one pick? What if they want Cooper Flag instead of Dylan Harper? What if? What if? Now, here's the thing. San Antonio does not need Dylan Harper. In fact, I would say if they don't trade that pick to Milwaukee, they're trading it to somebody. Somebody will want to move up to get Dylan Harper. Because you know where you don't need Dylan Harper when you have a De'Aaron Fox, when you have a Devin Vassell, when you have a Stephon Castle, when you have a Malachi Branham, when you have a Jeremy Sohan, when you have, I believe there's another guard on that team, Julian Champagny. Uh, then I want to say there's like two more guards along with Chris Paul, right? You have a glutton of guards. You don't need a Dylan Harper. In fact, if you draft a Dylan Harper, you probably need to move on from somebody. Now, you might say maybe he could play alongside Stephon Castle uh, off the bench. Well, sure. But you don't draft somebody number two to play them off the bench. Similarly, in Dallas, you have PJ Washington. You have, what's my man's name at small forward, came from New Orleans. Um, I actually like his game a lot. Let me see real quick. Pull it up here. Dallas Mavericks. Boom. Najee Marshall. You also have a Najee Marshall. Olivier Maxence Prosper. All these guys are at the small forward position and a Caleb Martin who plays a little bit of small forward. You have a bit of a glutton there, but I think Dallas is more in a position to move on from somebody like PJ Washington, considering that he's going to be an unrestricted free agent after next season. So they might look at that situation and say, hey, you know what? This would be good. This would be a good opportunity for us to upgrade that position. Maybe not immediately, because PJ Washington is extremely skilled, extremely capable. But I also think that he is um, definitely movable, especially when you consider that you still need a point guard. But that's the thing. They need a point guard. Kyrie's going to be out for most of the season, at least the first half of the season up until the All Star break. And you have the opportunity to bring in somebody who can be your starting point guard for the next 10 to 15 years. In fact, even if you bring him off the bench as a six man, who is his competition? Dante Exum? He's not even under contract for next year. Neither is Spencer Dinwiddie. Neither of them played all that well to demand that position or those minutes. And then you have Brandon Williams, who looked like he showed promise, but he didn't exactly wow you in that play-in tournament. So then you're looking at this void until Kyrie gets back. Who's going to run the show? And it had me thinking they could be pretty good with Dylan Harper. They could be really good with a Dylan Harper. You know, wilder things have happened. A lot of times people get drafted at the top that people are like, what? Really? Over this guy? But sometimes I think there's a need to go with your gut. There's a need to go with your gut. Now, I'm not saying my gut says that Dylan Harper is going to be the better player. I am saying Dylan Harper has the ability to have similar impact. And this is where my case begins, the potential impact. There are dynamic wings. The Jason Tatums, there's the shucks, well, Kevin Durant's headed out, Kawhi Leonard and such. There's guys who can dominate from the wing position. You got your Franz Wagner's and Paulo Banqueros, and you got even your Cade Cunningham, though he's a point guard, but he can play on the wing. You have guys who can really dominate from the wing. But the position that is always within the NBA of primary importance is who's running the show at the point. Who's at the point? Now, I've said this repeatedly that the NBA is in a flux. The NBA is in a flux. Right now, the NBA has exiting the majority of the dominant point guards that used to be. When we look at the dominant point guards today, you got guys like Trey Young, Darius Garland, Tyrese Halliburton. But I don't think any of those guys strike fear. Jalen Brunson. How many of those guys do you go, man, man, that's a ridiculous talent. That's somebody that's going to absolutely dominate and take over games. Now they have great games, granted. But I think that it's a position that's wide open. I don't think any of them have separated themselves from the pack. Cade Cunningham might. He has that type of talent. But I don't think any of them are of the Derrick Rose ilk. I don't think either of them, any of those, are of the Detroit Pistons great Isaiah Thomas or Magic Johnson from the Los Angeles Lakers. They might be Steve Nash level. Who knows? But I think that position is wide open. Is wide open. That means that I believe a point guard could come in to the NBA and step into that role and have an opportunity to be better than most of the starting point guards in the NBA. Who's the starting point guard in Miami? Tyler Hero. Brooklyn, starting point guard? D'Angelo Russell. Hmm. Boston, their starting point guard is Derek White. Okay, Charlotte, LaMelo Ball, well, when he's playing. You get my drift. That there's a lot of holes at the point guard. Washington Wizards, Toronto Raptors, Manuel quickly. Okay, I guess. Not scaring anybody. Not scaring anybody. As crafty as they might be, Brunson's able to, take over games and be clutch and hit big shots. Sure, totally get it. But they're not dominating other point guards in a way that they're just higher and above anyone else being able to get off. There's just a dearth of a lack of talent at the point guard position in the NBA today. And that's one of the primary reasons I think that Dylan Harper could go number one. Now, let me go even further. Once again, this is not to say Cooper Flag is not going to be good. I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to be a high level player. I think he's going to be somebody who can definitely make an impact from day one. Somebody who has a high ceiling as he continues to develop his shot creation bag and ability to handle the ball against pressure. I will say a lot of his competition, he didn't go up against what he's going to see in the NBA. Like, what does he do when he faces Houston, which he will 4 times a year in San Antonio or Dallas? What happens when he sees Amin Thompson, Tari Eason, Dylan Brooks, Jabari Smith Jr., and they're coming at him in waves? What happens? Right? Like this is the level of talent in the NBA right now at the wing position, defensively even. And you still got guys like Jonathan Kuminga who can get downhill on anybody. He's gonna have to still deal with the Kawhi Leonards and Kevin Durant's of the league. This league, Trey Murphy the third, Herb Jones, there is so much talent. Flag did not play on the select team with Cade and Duran. Oh, Flag did play on. I was about to say, yeah, he did. He did, and I think I was clear in another video. I think it was the last video I did. I said Cooper Flag, his play. I'm not going to diminish it, but let's be clear that that run against Team USA was not uh, ultra competitive, right? That was their warm up. That was their tune up. That was their summer run as a unit. They were trying to gel. There was no scouting report on Cooper Flag or Dern and Cade for that matter. They were there to tune them up, and he was able to look good. And the thing is, you gotta understand the NBA is a brotherhood. They ain't crushing anybody. They're not gonna be like, man, that kid sucks. They're not gonna do that. He had some highlights, hit a jump shot, did some work on the glass, offensive board, got out in transition. That's what's up. That's what's up. He played well. But I don't think anybody was mistaking him for the next anything as far as the players were concerned. Now, that's no slight to Cooper Flag. That's just an acknowledgement of what that run is. None of those guys were checking for that select team, which allowed the select team to get a jump on 'em. I think they won one of the games. Um, all that's to say is, I think he is prepared to make an impact from day one. I think Cooper Flag is prepared and is of the mindset to be an impact player from day one. I also think Ron Harper is built for it as well. Ron Harper, sorry, not Ron Harper, Dylan Harper, Ron Harper's son, youngest son, his eldest son, Ron Harper Jr., is already on the Detroit Pistons. But it's to say that Dylan Harper, I think we've recognized before that NBA players' children tend to have something different about them. They are built for the NBA in a way where you hope other talented players can acclimate themselves to. You hope that the Ace Bailey can acclimate himself, and the Derek Queen, and the uh, Jeremiah Fears, and VJ Edgecombs. You hope that they can acclimate to the speed and the big lights and the crowd and the media and the expectations and the media storms and narratives being spun and being asked questions and cameras in your face and flashing lights and people tracking his stats and knowing you out of nowhere. The thing is, Dylan Harper has seen this his whole life. He's seen it his whole he's not brand new to it. His dad is an invaluable resource to walk him through it. Jalen Brunson's dad, who played in the NBA for a short stint, has had the ability to walk his son through what to expect. Right? Clay Thompson, Stephen Curry. These guys are children of former NBA players, all stars even. Scottie Pippen Jr., who, whether or not they were these elite talents, and I mean incredible athleticism, all world athletes, just jump through the roof, can't miss prospects. There's something about the refinement of their game and the confidence that they walk into a gym with that allows them to rise to the occasion. Even a Bronny James, by the end of the season, everybody was like, yeah, he looks like a legitimate NBA player. There's something about having your dad having played in the NBA, especially for a long career, that allows you to step into the moment with a different level of confidence, a different level of familiarity. And this is another reason why I think Dylan Harper could be the number one pick. Not only does Dallas need that position more, and that position is so wide open at the point throughout the NBA in terms of availability, the opportunity to be dominant, because, yeah, we have a few elite point guards, as I mentioned before, Jalen Brunson, um, Tyrese Halliburton, Cade Cunningham. These guys are great. Even Trey Young and Darius Garland when he's healthy. But you look at the majority of the league, that point guard position is wide open. Phoenix, Philadelphia is Jerry McCain. Okay. The Bucks, right? Damian Lillard, he's been diminishing since he got there. And now he's out for a year. I mean, it's no slight to him. I'm one of the biggest fans of Dame, but he's older. He's older. That position is wide open. Kevin Porter Jr. is now their starting point guard. right? The Washington Wizards, is it Malcolm Brogdon the starting point or Bub Carrington? Okay. Phoenix, Tyus Jones, right? It's a wide open position. Dylan Harper can come in as a dominant shot maker, playmaker, creator, facilitator from day one. And it's a position that I think has more gravity, more impact because you are constantly engaged with. You are the one who is setting up your team. You are the one who's setting the table every single time down the floor. Saying Harper's floor is 1B on a championship team is insane. I think I think Dylan Harper's floor is close to that. I would say he's looking like he could become a Jamal Murray at least. Dynamic shot creator, playmaker. Um, I think he's somebody who will always give defenses problems. He's what 6'4.5" without shoes, so 6'5.5", close to 6'6". About a 6'9" wingspan. Extremely strong handle. Does a great job of utilizing his body and footwork to be able to get his defender on his hip. He's already over 200 pounds. He is a load, a load. And when you have that handle and you have the ability to utilize footwork and angles and that physical strength, you are going to be a load no matter what. No matter what. But his ceiling could be James Harden. Let me look at Dylan Harper's specific measurements. Dylan Harper's specific measurements: 6'4.5" without shoes, 213 pounds, 6'10" and a half wingspan, 6'10" and a half. He's almost 6'6" with shoes at 213 pounds, 6'10" and a half wingspan. Now let's look up what James Harden draft measurements. James Harden draft measurements. James Harden comes in at 6'4", 6'5" and a quarter with shoes, and a 6'10.75" wingspan. Now he came in at 220 pounds, not 213. Very similar, very similar physical metrics. So when you look at what you can do with footwork, a strong handle, a nose for the rim, and that type of size, his ceiling is pretty high. He could become a dominant force at the point. He's somebody who I think no matter what, his game translates. His shooting as well. Kenny was good, man. I would draft Harper just because of his DNA. Could be another Darko Milicic. Uh, true point guard, like a quarterback in the NFL. Yeah, I agree that he has the pedigree to step in and be great. I think that when your father played in the NBA, you come in with a different level of swag, also a different level of calm. I wouldn't even call it swag, I would call it calm. Like the moment doesn't get to you as much because it feels more familiar. It feels more relaxed into. I've been here, grown up dribbling on this court. Now, here's the thing: the moment is the moment for everybody. Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, these guys had to acclimate to moments. But there's something when you've been in that environment before, when you've been around it and you have someone to walk you through it that can give you real time advice. It allows you to settle in a little bit quicker, a little bit faster. And I would not be shocked if Dylan Harper is not having a Cade Cunningham esque impact on games. think he might take care of the ball a little bit better. I think he's more floor general, but similar when it comes to shot creation, playmaking, facilitating. I think he's going to be able to be big time on this team. He's going to make a tremendous impact. And so, what I would expect is that he is just as much of a candidate to go number one. Now, will he? I don't know. I don't know. It's up in the air. If we're honest, dominant narratives are powerful. Because here's the thing, if you're Nico Harrison and you don't draft Cooper Flag and you draft Dylan Harper, and let's say Dylan Harper gets hurt, right? Stuff happens, knock on wood. Something happens. All of a sudden, everybody's looking at you like, here he goes again, doing the thing that everyone knows you shouldn't do, right? That you shouldn't do. The reality is, they need a point guard. They have every other position filled. Dylan Harper can step in from day one and be that guy. I truly believe so. I truly believe so. And they'd be wise to bring in a veteran like Malcolm Brogdon or something like that coming off the bench, or Dennis Schroeder who can mentor him. But especially Malcolm Brogdon, who has a similar size, 6'5", good wingspan, good center of gravity, very professional, understands the game at a high level. I think he was rookie of the year as well. All to say is that there's a possibility. Now, at the same time, I think Cooper Flag is going to come in and be great. I think he's going to be an excellent player. He'd be my favorite to win Rookie of the Year alongside Dylan Harper, even though I think Dylan Harper would have more opportunities to have big games. Um, I think that they are going to be absolutely dynamic, both of them. And so, whether or not Dylan Harper goes number one or not, I think he's got a case. I think he's got a real case for going number one. And I can't wait to continue to listen to, keep your ear to the ground, listen to these draft outlets, especially the ones who are real time there at the draft combine. I'm wondering if my guys, if my boys, who let me see, they're called Locked On. Was it Locked On NBA Big Board? Locked On. Let me see. I got it on here. Yeah, NBA Big Board. Uh, yeah, NBA Big Board from the Locked On uh, basketball kind of, I guess, programming. They have a whole thing. All this to say is they put out some good content. And I think they're going to be able to interview some of these guys, and hopefully they get a chance to interview Dylan Harper and Cooper Flag, because both of them are extremely talented. But I'm interested to see what teams begin to think of them as they interview them. I think Cooper Flag is probably going to talk to two teams. That's it, at the top of the draft. And Dylan Harper will probably work out for and talk to two teams. I don't know if draft workouts will be released, them getting up shots. Cooper Flag has been a much improved shooter, much improved shot creator, though I think when he gets pressed by somebody with some athleticism and size and length, he resorts back to being a big man. He turns his back, tries to post up. That's why I said he's a 4-3 power forward who can also play small forward. He's not a 3-4. So when we think about just his size and how he's going to play, keep that in mind. Dylan Harper as a point guard is a legit 6'5" and a half with shoes, and potentially anywhere between 6'5" and a half and 6 feet. But over 200 pounds already, meaning that he has the physical body to be an imposing player from day one. I don't think he's gonna debo anybody like a Darren Williams did coming in out of Illinois, but I do think that he's going to be able to use his body extremely effectively. And I can't wait to see summer league. I think I'm gonna try to get down there to Vegas to see it. I think it's gonna be fantastic to watch. Some other guys that I would also say keep an eye out for is Jeremiah Fears. I think he has the opportunity to be an extremely impactful lead guard, point guard. Um, and then there's the brother out of Auburn. I'm trying to think of his name. Uh, you guys might know who I'm talking about. He's actually had a really good pre-draft camp so far. playing in the open scrimmages. His name is where was it? Tahad Pettiford. His vertical, his quickness. He reminds me of a little bit taller Isaiah Thomas from the Boston Celtics. His pop, his quickness, his lateral stop, start, get to his spots, and then explosiveness at the rim, along with shooting and shot creation, is I mean, it just looked amazing on full display. I would recommend go take a look at that scrimmage and watch him play out there. He looked like he was moving at a different speed and quickness, like there was nothing that they could do with him. And I think that that is something to keep in mind, especially when you look at these other guys who are slated to go above him. We look at Kasparis, Yakushonis, Jace Richardson. You got Igor Denham, Nolan Traore, Ben Seraph. You got some of these guys that I don't think Walter Clayton Jr. even. You got some of these guys that I don't know if any of them has the level of shot creation ability. And as you see, especially in the playoffs, you have to have extreme confidence, extreme footwork and skill and shot making ability to get by without elite athleticism. Or you have to have incredible size, like a Tyrese Halliburton or Cade Cunningham. Otherwise, speed kills in the NBA. And when you get to the playoffs, even the play in, games get physical. Guys are getting up into you, traps are coming, they're putting bigger players on you, more athletic players. When you have that pop, when you have that speed and that quick first step, what you're able to do on the court translates at a higher level. And so I think that there is going to be an influx of guards, point guards coming in to take this league by storm. And so Dylan Harper is at the top of that list to take this league by storm. Cade Cunningham is already here. And I think Dylan Harper might be next. But as always, it's your man 100 Grand Ross with the Rock Never Stops. Dropping a video to you. It's just my love for the game. These topics, it ain't nothing, mainstream. This ain't the stuff that you're gonna get at your typical, basketball critic, ESPN type of outlet, who all kind of just stick on the same high topics. I talk basketball shit that I would talk about at a barbershop. So if you enjoy that, smash the like button for me. Hit subscribe and the bell for notifications so you get notified when I do more of these live basketball conversations. And I do try to respond to what you put in the chat or what you comment on after the video posts. As always, though, it's good to see y'all. Y'all have a good night and a good week.